Welcome to another edition of the Litigation Psychology Podcast, brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. Dr. Bill Kanaski, it is the dog days of summer. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. 95 degrees every day. Horrible humidity here in Florida. Paul Motz, Chicago, Illinois trial attorney extraordinaire. Uncle Paulie, how you doing today?
Doing well. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's always good to have you on the podcast. I wanted to have you on again, Paul, because we got some weird things happening. We have a thriving plaintiffs bar. We have younger and middle-aged plaintiff attorneys, getting a lot of training, a lot of trial experience, and they're doing really well. On defense side, I just day in, day out from dozens and dozens of partners. I can't keep a good associate. I can't find a replacement associate. No one wants to work past 5 o'clock. Nobody wants to work on weekends. I'm working, 100 hours a week because I can't get any help, and a number of other issues for attorneys, particularly defense counsel. I respect you very deeply. You've worked very hard to get where you're at. You're not old like me, but you're getting there. I will say that you're getting there. You're doing really well at that. I thought this would be a good time to talk about being a good attorney, being a successful attorney. I think maybe the definition of those things has changed here. I think there's some generational gaps. Now you're kind of stuck in the middle of it, kind of where you are. You've got some people ahead of you. You got some people below you. So you're kind of sandwiched in the middle. What, Uncle Paulie, what are your thoughts on this topic? Because this is a problem. Because I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing frustrated attorneys trying to surround themselves with talented people that have a high work ethic, that want to be successful. Some struggles with that. Also, attorneys trying to get up that, career ladder. And I think this is an important topic for our audience. First of all, what are your experiences with this? Because again, I think you've been very successful. There's been a couple bumps on the road, and we'll talk about potential bumps in the road. But tell us about your experience and maybe some of your expectations early on versus the reality of having a career as a trial attorney.
Well, so I'm in my 15th year of practice, and I can't believe I'm at that point right now. It's still mind-boggling that I get trusted with clients and cases, but at the same time, I think at this point I have a good idea. I know what to do, know what I'm doing, but you're hitting it right on the head that finding good associates, finding good attorneys is very, very difficult right now in this market. And it's not just attorneys, it's across every single field.
Yes.
At my old firm, I was the managing partner for 3 years. There were some other issues involved there in terms of, the salary structure for associates made, unfortunately, due to the equity situation at that firm, it was one person, and unfortunately, it wasn't me setting the salary scales. And that, even before the Great Resignation and the pandemic, we saw just high turnover and losing the people that you wanted to talk with. Now, post-pandemic or endemic, whatever stage we are on, pandemic year 3, the monkeypox edition. We're seeing it even more and more. It seems like the younger associate class. I just turned 40, so I don't consider myself old yet, but I've been a partner now for almost half my career. 7 years as a partner, and it's one of those things that I am concerned about. What that next generation of attorneys is going to look like, because right now it seems a lot of younger associates, those type of associates that you can say, hey, this is a person that is going to be a future partner at the firm. I could see molding this person into a talented associate and potentially be on that partnership track, with that 3 to 5 years and the 5 to 7, 5 to 8, 5 to 9 years, that those two gaps, it seems one of the biggest things that's hampering the defense bar, and I think it's more than just the defense bar, but it's chasing the money of a better paycheck, the signing bonuses, claims of a better work-life balance. I know there are more and more defense firms that are, going from 2,000 billable hours down to 1,900, down to 1,800. There's going to be a lot of issues, long term in terms of how the defense firms work, and the entire legal industry that works on a billable hour scale, just because there is a very large demand for that work-life balance, the live to work to live, that whole dichotomy. We're seeing I think we're on Gen Z attorneys, but the millennials and whatever came after millennials, I don't even know. I'm technically a millennial. I graduated high school in 2000, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
You're absolutely right. There are people that want to work less and less, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. However, if you're going to be a trial attorney and be a successful trial attorney,
different story, right? I mean,
you can't work 9 to 5 and take an hour lunch and take weekends off. You just can't do that, because the plaintiff's bar is going to outwork you.
Agreed.
There are going to be defense lawyers. I'd like to consider myself one. I know plenty coast to coast that will outwork you, especially when you're getting close to trial and the run up to trial, when you get everything done. You're working 15, 18, 20-hour days. Then when you get on trial, it's more of the same. You get like one half night off a week during trial, and that's Friday night. Unfortunately, with the 9 to 5 crowd in the legal profession, you can't have that sort of dedication, where it's getting harder to find. So it is definitely it's a problem that we're facing here.
What's the strategy?
Magic bullet to fix it.
I know. What's the something I think our audience would appreciate? I don't know if there's an answer to this question. I think there's some obvious answers, but maybe I'm wrong. How do you keep good people? Besides money, I think money's. I'm sorry, money's important. My wife just went to Costco, and she came back, and it was like $420. I'm like, what'd you do? Buy a used car? What in the world's going on? She's like, the prices are insane. I mean, I understand money. And yes, gas is still up there. What do you do besides money? I think money can be generated. Money's always there. What can you do to keep good people, keep them loyal, and keep them hardworking in a law firm?
You're absolutely right. It's a multifaceted problem. Money isn't the end all be all, but it definitely makes the decision for an associate or a partner even to move that much easier. You have to, first and foremost, with your associates, you have to let them know their value, because they are. Yes, as from a partner's perspective, they are working up your cases, they are generating revenue that you're getting credit for. But you have to let them know that you don't just look at them as a human cash register. You look at them as a professional that you want to help develop. And that's how I really look at that. My associates, and this is what I've done over the entirety of my career when I've had associates. It's know that they're valued, give them the opportunities to broaden their professional horizons. That means taking key depositions from time to time once they're ready. I'm not saying, okay, well, I got a tea time tomorrow at 9:15. You get to take that key liability expert. Don't screw up now. You can't do that, but you really have to partner with the associate, and you have to have buy-in from them. You have to be bought in the process. It can't just be one of those situations where you're going to send out an email every other week, like, what's the status on this file? One sentence email, or even worse, what status, question mark. You can't do the bare minimum. One thing that we are at my firm, Segal McCambridge, is doing in our Chicago office, we're throwing like weekly or bi-weekly lunches and happy hours just to try and get the camaraderie back in to the office. I mean, we're in our Chicago office, we still have the option to work remotely. And frankly, I work remotely most days, but I'm talking to my associates on my files, whether that's on the phone, in Teams, Zoom, text message, email. But it's about the way my management style is I want to have a sense of humor. I don't want to take things too seriously, and I don't want associates to think that they can't come to me. There's a time and a place in my practice where you have to be stone cold serious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, especially in the defense bar, and especially when you're dealing with catastrophic injury. But you can't be so serious that associates aren't afraid to ask questions, that they aren't afraid to take risks, that they aren't, afraid to get out of their comfort zone. I want to have a working dynamic where we can, we can guide them so that they can take a leap, but still I'm thinking in the back of my mind, okay, worst case scenario, they make a mistake. What is there a way for me to help clean it up? And usually there always is.
How do you said the magic word, mistakes. How do you communicate constructive criticism to associates and be effective? I know that it's a very touchy subject, particularly with millennials. Many people, I'm not just talking attorneys, do not take constructive criticism well. They feel they're being attacked, even if you're not attacking them. I came as the Gen Xer on this podcast. By the way, Steve Wood is in jury selection in Louisiana, so he couldn't join us today. But he's a millennial as well. But he's pretty tough guy. But I mean, I went through the school of hard knocks. I mean, that's how I grew up, being very young and through high school and through college. I mean, I got yelled at, I got humiliated sometimes, and I sucked it up because oh God, what my football coaches did to me today, what you just can't do today. What my football coaches did back in the day that you can't do today is incredible. But it built me as a person from a personal strength and character, and being able to take in graduate school, getting really tough criticism from professors. That was really, really needed. And it seems like when you do that today, hell, you're lucky if you don't get a lawsuit, right? How do you communicate constructive criticisms, and maybe what are some of the landmines that you've stepped on?
Well, I can do constructive criticism by texting a meme to them and how they've screwed up.
Try not to suck so much. Yeah.
No, you're right. It is very, very hard in this this environment. I try and approach it as a troubleshooting conversation. What I don't like, and what my fellow partners that I've talked about this with, it's when you have an associate that is looking to be told what to do every step of the way, that's not the way to do it. It's one of those things where if you have that situation, you as the partner, you should just do the work yourself. So when mistakes get made, or if there's a gap in judgment, I want to talk to the person about it and say, hey, have you considered this? Not really the Socratic method, but it definitely hints on it. Try and give them ownership in the whole problem solving solution, so that they're not taking it as an attack on their character.
Yeah.
There have been times in my career where I've had associates that I'm like, here's my red line. I can't talk to you because I'm too frustrated right now. Or I just say, here's your red line. Let me know if you have questions. And I'm thinking, I am so frustrated with you. I can't communicate in that collaborative process.
We call that amygdala hijack. Us big guys call that amygdala hijack, right?
I also call it preventing blood from shooting out my nose.
Yeah,
because I'm so angry.
That's a good, because I mean, because I think sometimes you want to say, okay, you need to get your head out of your ass, right? Wake up, right? Short of, slapping them across the side of the head, which is how many of us grew up. But yeah, I see that as being a big challenge, and I think people need to suck it up, toughen up a little bit. It's to get better. I don't know. I think to grow and to get better, people need to hear good constructive. I mean, I'm assuming that when you were going through that first 5 years, I'm sure somebody told you to get your head out of your ass a few times, right?
Usually it was a judge.
Yeah. That works.
It's one of those things where I do agree that people do need to suck it up. Unfortunately, I think we are seeing a shift in, work-life expectations.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if we just take a mindset of, well, I had to go through hell to get where I am, thus, the young folks need to, or the newbies need to do the same thing, I think you're going to just increase that turnover. So it really is about paying attention to what's going on. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying I handle everything perfectly. Lord knows I don't. But it's trying to make the best of a bad situation when you come to these things. And trying to get people in the door nowadays, when you say, okay, 2,000 hours, which equates to 40 billable hours a year at 50 hours or 50 weeks out of the year, they're like, yeah, I actually just want to do 1,800. And there's just it's a sense of entitlement, unfortunately.
And a pay raise and a corner office, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, I started first 7 years of my career. I had a lovely cubicle, but that's when I was a plaintiff's attorney, making awful money and working in this deplorable conditions.
I can't believe you said that I can't believe you said that on the podcast.
Hey,
wow.
I've done it both ways. I understand the mentality from the other side. That's why I'd like to think I can do. I do pretty well as a defense attorney. I don't have just the defense attorney blinders on, but getting to the concept of that bad experience molded me to who I am as a partner now. I got a great example of how not to be a lawyer, how not to be a partner in a law firm for my first job. One thing that I maintain this to this day is I probably stayed too long at prior firms. But I am not one that is going to make the jump just to make a jump. And I think there's a lot of that lacking in associates nowadays. They want to spend 6 months, spend a year at a firm, then jump to a new one. Well, they're never going to get any relationships where they can ever be considered partners. That's just not, that's kind of mortgaging your future at the expense of today. And there's a lack of foresight in terms of what that absolutely means. And I'm not saying you stay just to stay because, Paul on the podcast with Bill says, hey, you should stay and not move.
Well, it seems like I think the jumping around is a short-term solution to maybe a long-term problem.
Yeah. Well, I think that you're seeing a lot of people that went to law school that didn't know why they went to law school. or they became a lawyer and they didn't really know why
Yeah.
they wanted to become a lawyer. And so you're seeing people that are unhappy with it. You're seeing people leave the practice of law. So there is, people should be happy. There's no doubt about that. But that doesn't change the realities of firm life, where we're seeing in Chicago and it seems like everywhere, you've got these firms that are just like, they can't get enough quality people. And I know it's not just my firm, it's every firm that I talk to with attorneys seeking associates.
It's tough. Okay, so what are some other good pointers you can? Okay, so the associate that stays does the right thing. They're on the right track. They get on the right track. What are some other things they need to be doing to get to the even next level higher, besides being overly demanding, but showing it behaviorally?
Well, they should pick up the game of golf. They should drink whiskey. No,
okay,
I'm kidding.
Every joke's half true. Every joke is half true.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely is.
Yeah.
An associate. I came out of law school in 2007, the beginning of the Great Recession, couldn't find a job for almost a year. And then when I got one, it was just like, okay, I could get fired any day of the week just because there's not enough money coming in. I look at one of the first traits that I look for is an associate that's trying to make themselves indispensable. Someone that I, as a partner, can rely on. I'm not saying that they're going to do my job for me. The way I work is I am not going to ask somebody to do something for me that I'm not willing to do myself. There are times that I have to ask for help just because I don't have enough hours in the day, and it's priority tasking. But you got to have somebody that's willing to put in the work, understand that you as the partner are there to guide the work of the case, to have that relationship with the client so that more cases come in. But if you have an associate that's indispensable, you can keep counting on them on your toughest cases, and you start having those conversations with them. That's where you have those conversations of trying to get that buy-in process. I've had some great right-hand men and women as associates, and one of them's now one of my partners at Segal McCambridge. And when you find somebody like that as a partner, it's like gold. So that's probably the number one thing that I look for. Couple in with you gotta want to work hard. I'm not saying make work the only thing that goes on in your life. That's my job as a partner. Right? It's eat, live, sleep, breathe, work. I'm kidding. But work hard, make yourself indispensable, and show initiative throughout the process. Don't just wait for me to say something. You need to be working through the case. I'm going to you to spitball it. I can't tell you how many cases I've had where I'm talking with my associate and we're just spitballing. Hey, what if they do this? What if they do that? What about this issue? How does that issue correlate with this over here in the ultimate trial strategy? Those, it shows to me as a supervisor, they're thinking, they're engaged, they care about the case, and they're critically thinking. But it's that process that they're trying to troubleshoot it just like I am, and that really brings that team bond into that associate partner relationship.
That is great stuff. That's great stuff. Do you want to do some viewer mail with me since Dr. Wood's not around? Oh, this is great. Never done viewer mail with the guest. You're gonna love this stuff too, because courtrooms are back going. A lot of trials are going on, so I'm getting a lot of trial questions, a lot of jury selection questions, but I'm going to hold off on those. That's a whole separate episode. I got some greats. You're going to love this. Okay, so question number one from a viewer. These are from trial attorneys. These are from audience members.
Not from the home office in Sioux City, Iowa.
In Sioux City, Iowa. See, no one remembers the David Letterman that you and I remember.
Oh, darn it.
Back in the day. All right. Question number one. Given where we are at today and horrendous attention spans with jurors, what is the ideal length of the defense opening statement? I have very strong thoughts on this.
I say 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. So that's okay.
I'm
tell me your
sure I
rationale.
am. Obviously, depending on how much information you got to get through.
That's true.
Opening,
that's true.
If it's a simple rear end accident on a case that's going to take a day to try,
yeah,
it should be 10 minutes
exactly.
or less.
Exactly.
But I think out of all the openings I've given, I think the most I've ever done is actually 45 minutes. You're going to lose their attention.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lay out the roadmap for the case, give them the ammunition, or give them the idea that there is more than just one side to this story. That's not what all the nonsense that just came out of the plaintiff's mouth during their opening statement. But it's you tell a story and you want to make it interesting. As long as you're keeping it interesting, you'll keep their attention. But for some reason, a lot of attorneys, they like, well, I can have an hour and a half. I'm going to use an hour and a half. No,
Not good.
You don't need it. You
Not
don't
good.
need it.
Not good.
So that my idea is 45 minutes to an hour.
Well,
depending on the complexity of the case.
I think you're right. It largely depends on the complexity of the case. For most, I mean, your neuropsychological sweet spot is 35 to 45 minutes. It's more is not better when it comes to opening. We know that. So, but I do see a huge risk of going longer and longer and longer. A, it just looks bad. B, it typically means you're not a very good storyteller. But C, you are going to lose your attention. Less is more. Use emphasis. Use power. Use all these tricks that we have. But oftentimes less is more to the jury. All right, that's question number one. That's not bad. Oh, here's another one on opening statement, Paul. What is the best way? I have very strong thoughts on all these, but yeah, you're the guest, so I have to rely on you for these answers.
I wouldn't expect you not to have.
I know exactly. What is the best way for the defense to start their opening? Where do you start?
Everything they just said is bullshit.
Thank you. Okay, my cousin Vinny.
No,
But you're right. That is the right answer. That is
what
you just said, that you can't say that, but that is how you start. You just can't say those words. But that's how you start the opening.
It's usually something in that vein.
Yeah.
But obviously not those words. It's try. I know. Yes, the jury has gotten acquainted with me during jury selection, but this is the really the first time they get to hear my story in its entirety. So, it's one of those things that you got to come out and say somehow politely and just say, hey, there are facts that we disagree on in this case. There are two sides to this story. The last medical malpractice case I did, I think I said, there are two sides to this story. And if you follow the medicine, your verdict should be for us. That was the opening line right there. And that encapsulated the entire case. So it's really about pivoting towards your story.
I hate that word. I hate that word. Do not use the pivoting word on this podcast. It's a banned word. How about shifting? Shifting.
Yeah. Okay. Pivoting is only acceptable when you're actually giving an opening statement. It's not acceptable when you got a witness on the stand.
Thank you.
You got to set the differences.
Yeah, you're right.
Up right then and there. They've already heard. They've been thanked enough. At some point, yes, you got to say, okay, thank you for this. Please pay attention. Blah blah blah. The plaintiffs are going to say that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of coming out of the corner swinging.
Yes,
not dancing around and putting someone else or something else on trial immediately. Yep. I don't like the "we didn't do it" opening.
Oh gosh, no,
it's awful.
From my experience, saying just "we didn't do it" or "we are not to blame," or "we are not responsible," you're shooting yourself in the foot, knee, and
amongst other places.
Bob Tyson talks about it. You take responsibility for something. And I don't disagree with that concept. You have to own your client. When I'm giving openings and closing, it's we.
Yeah.
I am part of the client. Because that's the mentality that I have working with these people. And if it's just like me holding my nose and saying, okay, this is my client over here. No. I got to stand with them. That's the only way that I know how to argue. Give a non-argument opening to a jury.
Yeah.
That shows that I care about this. You've got the sob story on the other side. We are here. Our professional reputation is being attacked, and we're not going to just take this lying down. So we have to say, what? In cases where the injuries are horrible, you have to recognize those. We have a difference of opinion on the dollar value. There's a reasonable difference. People can have differing opinions on what something is worth. When you get to liability, that's the ball game right there. That's where the opening really has to drive home and just keep swinging as long as you're telling a story, making sense, and keeping their attention. All of those things are important at the beginning. I think that the best summation on this point is you start the opening with your elevator pitch. What is your 15 words or 10 words that your case is all about? If you come up to somebody in an elevator, you're talking to your family members, hey, I got a trial tomorrow, and they say, what's it about? You got to have that quick hitting why you win, what it's about and why you win, ready to go.
And direct it in the right direction. It needs to be directed in the right. Yeah, and that's the key. Not this case is about a doctor that didn't do anything wrong and is being wrongfully blamed. No, this case is about the plaintiff. This case is about alternative causation. This case could be about an empty chair. Whatever. Come out of the corner swinging, put something else on trial. Question 3: use of visual aids during opening statement. Yay or nay?
Yay.
I agree.
Now, I'm not saying throw every document up there, but I like using documents during openings to really help me tell the story.
Exactly.
And it also has the great benefit of, if I draw an absolute blank and if everything goes out, I can look at a document and be like, ladies and gentlemen, this document says the blah, blah, blah. Next document, please. And this is why, and try and get back on that way. But juries expect some level of technological sophistication, some level of performance when it comes to openings and closings. I've seen openings where other lawyers have put 50 documents on and it looks like a disaster. I've seen openings where one document has been used or even no documents. And there are times where you don't have to use anything. But if you have key documents, key evidence, key demonstratives, you should show them to the jury and explain why they matter. Because when you're beating up John Smith expert and that's the first time they see that document, they're like, okay, maybe this is important, maybe it's not. It is the chance to tell a story of what matters in your case. It really does.
And hence the reason for mock jury research, to figure out which of these exhibits are important, which ones do you want to lead with, which ones don't get you very far, so you know what you're doing when you make those decisions. Okay, this is an awesome podcast. Let's finish with, of course, I just looked it up. In Las Vegas, they have the Chicago Bears total wins for the season. Under over is 6.5. I gotta go under on this. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, Bears fans. There's plenty wrong with this team, including the stadium, including the mayor, who's trying to keep. Now they need to go to Arlington as fast as possible. I'm taking the under on 6.5 because I still think there's no offensive line. I think Justin Fields will likely be in a hospital by game 7. And I just don't see the talent on this. I think they're going to be a terrible, terrible team around 4 wins. Paul?
I think it's going to be between 4 and 7. So I'll take the over because it's 6.5.
It's so bad.
If it was 7.5, I'd be taking the under. I think it's going to be 7 and
you
10.
think they're winning 7 games? The Chicago Bears are going to win 7 games. Are you out of your? Were you drinking today already?
Not yet.
Are you sure?
I
suffer a head injury, maybe? What the hell's wrong with
you? I don't have any other hope in Chicago sports right now. The Cubs are on a fire sale.
That's not
Tony La Russa and the White Sox falling asleep. The Blackhawks stink, and the Bulls don't start till October. So I got to say, I'm going to say 7 wins.
Oh, this is so going to come back to haunt you. You'll be on before the end of the year.
Well, I'll tell you this. My predictions the last time we got together were spot on. I think I went 0 for the century.
That's why it's when you're doing this stuff, it's all in good fun. But if I was anybody out there with $100 to spend, I would be putting it on the under 6.5. Chicago Bears. Uncle Paulie, thank you for coming on the podcast again. We'll have you on before the end of the year, probably on a panel. This was an awesome podcast to our audience. Thank you for participating. We love doing this litigation psychology podcast. We'll see you next time.